All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving straight into a really fascinating text called The Bible and Astronomy, Law of the Star. Whether you're an astrophysicist or a theologian, it's incredibly compelling to see how this source weaves linguistics, physics, and history into a highly detailed argument for a divinely ordered universe. So right out of the gate, the source material throws down a major challenge. We're looking at a huge cosmic showdown between two drastically different worldviews: chaotic cosmic evolution on one hand, and meticulously orchestrated design on the other. We're going to impartially map out exactly how the author makes their case, looking at the evidence they present to argue that the cosmos doesn't run on random chance, but rather on strict mathematical law. Here is how the author breaks it all down. First, we'll look at linguistic foundations, then accident versus intelligence design, Earth's orbital tightrope, the Neptune calculation, and we'll wrap up with signs and seasons. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Linguistic Foundations. The script actually kicks things off by taking a step back in time, examining the ancient words humanity has historically used to describe the night sky above us.
You know, the author uses Greek etymology to lay down this fundamental premise. The actual word astronomy comes from astron, meaning star, and nomos, which means law. It literally translates to the star law. And get this, the ancient Greeks referred to the universe as a cosmos, a term that inherently means order and rigid structure. It is literally the exact opposite of chaos. The logic the author is building here is straightforward. The very name of this science implies an arrangement, and logically, a lawgiver. To anchor this whole idea in theology, the author points us straight to the book of Jeremiah. Notice that word ordinances there? It translates to laws or statutes. The script is reinforcing this really ancient concept that celestial bodies aren't just floating around randomly. They're governed by strict dictated rules. So, to cap off this first section, the source argues a pretty straightforward principle of logic. Think about it. Spilling a bottle of ink doesn't just accidentally write the U.S. Constitution, right? In the exact same way, a highly structured cosmos requires intelligent direction. The script poses a great question. If we know complex documents require an intelligent mind, why would we look at the immense complexity of the sky and assume it was an accident? Moving on to Section 2, Accident versus Intelligent Design. Let's see how this builds into a direct contrast between the widely accepted Big Bang theory and the concept of an intelligent builder. How exactly does this source view secular origin models? Well, the script playfully but sharply contrasts the two. It describes the secular Big Bang model as starting with a microscopic cosmic egg, a concept the author openly mocks as lacking origin, basically exploding like a firecracker. Now, explosions inherently cause radical chaos, throwing debris outward in straight lines. In stark contrast, the intelligent design model points out that our actual solar system features perfectly balanced curving orbits that fashion a habitable environment, formulating a true harmony. The author uses Hebrews 3:4 to really hammer this point home. They draw this vivid parallel. Lighting a stick of dynamite in a lumber yard is never, ever going to yield a beautifully constructed home. The argument here is that the perfect curving balance of the cosmos couldn't just pop out of a chaotic blast. Instead, they argue, it's the undeniable work of a master architect. All right, Section 3, Earth's orbital tightrope. This is where the source leans into actual astrophysics to illustrate this master architect's precision right here in our own solar system. Just wrap your head around this for a second. Earth is spinning on its axis at 1,000 miles per hour, while simultaneously hurtling through space at over 66,000 miles per hour, along a nearly 600 million mile track. The author leans heavily on Sir Isaac Newton's first law of motion here, the principle that an object at rest stays at rest unless acted upon. The script argues that this incredible continuous movement mathematically demands a prime mover to have started the whole thing. And here is the script's absolute core piece of evidence for this section. As the Earth travels at these crazy breakneck speeds, its orbit deviates from a perfectly straight line by exactly 1/9 of an inch every 18 miles. Just 1/9 of an inch. It's a highly specific, tiny fraction, but according to the source, it is the exact, literal measurement required for our survival. The source really emphasizes these precise fractions to argue that our planet is walking a literal mathematical tightrope to sustain life. Look at this. If that deviation were to change to just 1/10 of an inch, the Earth's trajectory would flatten out, sending us into deep space to freeze to death.
But if the bend tightened to 1/8 of an inch, we would spiral inward and get instantly incinerated by the sun. So for the author, this perfect 1/9 of an inch balance is absolutely not a lucky roll of the dice. They present it as definitive proof of an orchestrated masterpiece.
That brings us to Section 4, the Neptune calculation. The explainer now shifts gears from the scale of our planet to a fascinating piece of 19th century historical proof, demonstrating the universe's mathematical consistency on a much larger scale. We're taken through this really amazing sequence of events. Prior to 1846, Neptune was completely unknown. It was just way too far away to see. But scientists noticed a strange gravitational wobble in the orbit of Uranus. Working entirely independently, two scientists used pure mathematics, literally just paperwork and equations based on the laws of physics, to predict exactly where an invisible, massive planet had to be to cause that wobble. Then, in 1846, astronomer Johann Galle pointed his telescope at the exact coordinates provided by those mathematical calculations, and boom, he discovers Neptune less than 1 single degree from the predicted spot. The script uses this historical triumph to argue that astronomers can only predict things with such pinpoint accuracy because the universe itself operates on an incredibly strict, mathematically consistent law. And finally, Section 5, Signs and Seasons. The script brings this vast, giant clockwork engine of a universe back down to its practical, everyday purpose for humanity living on Earth. According to the source's reading of Genesis, the stars aren't magical controllers of human destiny. Nope, they are highly practical tools designed for earthly navigation, for marking time and charting changing seasons. The script uses this to openly dismiss modern astrology, basically laughing off the idea that stars determine human daily luck, and instead anchors them as vital, functional instruments for survival and timekeeping. There's also this fascinating bit of scientific foresight pointed out in the text. It highlights a very subtle but profound word choice. Moses accurately called the sun the greater light to rule the day, rather than the greatest light. Now, to an observer thousands of years ago, the sun obviously appeared to be the absolute largest object in existence. Yet this exact wording perfectly aligns with modern astronomy's confirmation that there are countless stars across the universe vastly larger than our own sun. Ultimately, the source presents the universe as this flawless, everlasting clockwork machine. The argument is that the heavens don't even need to speak with human words because their undeniable mathematical precision, their orbital data, and their visible harmony all declare the glory of their creator. So, to wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought from the source text to reflect on. Considering all of this breathtaking mathematical consistency, I mean from the 1/9 of an inch bend in Earth's orbit, all the way to the pen and paper discovery of Neptune, what is the true origin of our cosmic clockwork? Does it point to random chance, or does it point to a great mathematician? Thank you so much for joining me as we unpacked the fascinating arguments within the Bible and astronomy. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.